Well, 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 chat. It's fucking Monday, but not is it any kind of Monday. It's fucking inauguration day. I forgot a thing. Nobody panic. Nobody scream. Nobody scream. Remain calm. What the fuck? Holy shit. Hold on. Nizumi, thank you for the raid. Glassfox, thank you for the follow. Diablo, thank you for renewing your season pass for 2 years. Jesus. Faye, thank you for renewing your season pass for 20 months. Yeah, it's inauguration day, and some heinous shit has already been said, and some heinous things have already been done. Yeah, Diablo, I saw the thing. Why the fuck is he there? Why the fuck is he there? Why the fuck was Zuckerberg there? Ungodly screaming, I relate. It sure is the Monday of all time. Wait for the boat, wait for the boat, wait for the boat. Okay, chat. This is one of those Mondays where it makes you feel like Garfield, where it just makes you feel like you're gonna just, I hate Mondays. Just that kind of shit. But, oh my God. Oh my God, wait, oh, what the heck? Oh, I felt like the model was lagging for a second. By the power of fuck it all, total reset of the world. Oh, maybe that would be for the greater good. I hope I moan hobbies. Moan hobbies? What? I just vote every time I reach 10K. It cannot change now. Understandable, sir. So you must do as you must do. Also, hi, Cecil. Welcome in. How was Library of Runa, too, Nesby? You're still here. How was Library of Runa? Is this your first time playing it? I played it a little bit. I couldn't quite get into it. It's the same thing with like Lobotomy Corp and Limbus Company. I couldn't get into any of those like really hard because it just felt like gotcha by like any other name. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But Trump has made some declarations on gender today. Elon Musk made a extremely suspicious fucking gesture at the inauguration, and we get a whole nother 4 years of just pretending like we don't understand what things mean when we know exactly what they mean. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be awful. That's what it's gonna be. Yeah, in front of God and everybody. He's like one of those, I think this is a good way to explain him. He's like one of those cringe teenagers that gets like really into like ancient history in high school. And so he thinks, sorry, he thinks everything that the Romans do is like really fucking cool. So if he does like a Roman salute, of course, everybody's going to think he's like super cool, like the Chad Romans. Bro, and fuck it, we ball. Well, shit, yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to roll. Like, I'm not going to do any sort of panicking. I'm going to sit here and call people stupid as I sees it. But it's going to be a hellscape. It's going to be a hellscape, ladies and gentlemen. We are fucking in for it. We gave the worst person in America an extra 4 years, and we're about to see what the fuck we hedged our bets for and what the fuck our government is willing to throw away. I'm trying to be 4chan, except 4chan fucking hates him. Does it really? I didn't know that. I didn't think they liked Elon Musk. I just didn't think that they hated him. Played through the Stardust before, but that was a while back. I started a new save for stream. Ah. Reddit is on fire right now? Of course it is. It's Reddit. But also, more buttons. Thank you for the 10 stream streak. I have messed up. If we are having a backslide to 2016, but worse, then I'm going back to old habits of 2016 and worse. I may have picked up a certain MMO that has new hardcore servers. I did it to myself. Chat. I played WoW. I was playing WoW before stream. I fucked up. I was playing WoW before stream. Please. I did it. I want to get into hardcore, but World of Warcraft, and there's so many people playing it, and it's the nostalgia train. But Faye, 4 months, never gonna leave this carnival and no one can make me. Hell yeah, you're here to stay, bitch. It's okay, I downloaded it too, I'm guilty. It's also only like 4 gigs, so it's like, it's a low space investment. It'll be fine. Also, thank you guys for the hype train. Dang, a shame Mouse didn't push it over to level 2. Would have gotten a full nether timer. Oh, my water bottle wasn't open. I tried to go take a drink. But you have to keep away from the cigs. I'm never going to start smoking. You don't have to worry about that. I will never touch cigarettes. Aww. Good lord, I forgot Azzy gave you a year of fucking sub carry. Jesus. Too late. Too late, too slow, Carrie. Jesus, how delayed are you? I've been stuck at the carnival. I don't know, Diablo. You don't come around that often. We can do a little sneaky peeky here. Let's see, what do we got? Here's today. Today the 20th. Last time you were here was August 26th. Mm-hmm. Yes, hardcore needs a sub. I had to get another WoW sub. For 3 years, almost 3 years. Hey, yes. I don't know why, that made me think of, what was it? Fat Albert, hey. God damn it, Nintendo. God, we have a lot of... Also, hold on a second. Did I hurt myself at the gym today? My side hurts. It's like muscular pain. Kind of doing a wiggle over here. Sorry if this looks weird. Like stretching it. Don't call me out. Listen, it's fine. Probably why I won't get into it. I can only have one MMO sub at a time. What's the current MMO sub? Goodness. I was going to say, what? Probably Final Fantasy, isn't it? I think that's the only other MMO. Yep. I was going to say, there's 2 big MMOs out right now that are sub only, and that's WoW and Final Fantasy. SWTOR does still have a sub, but you can play SWTOR completely for free. Been busy recently getting back into things. Hell yeah. But chat, today is Mental Monday. Or should y'all decide, it could become MMO Monday. Mayhaps. I don't think there's a watch time command. Hi, Bard. Bard's also in the server I'm playing on and part of the guild that I'm probably going to end up joining. It broken? I don't think Mix It Up has a watch time command. By default, at least. I'd have to set one up. But I don't know exactly. I think Stream Elements was the one that had the built-in. I got the fucking hiccups. No, Faye, no! The hardcore classic or hardcore, it's hardcore classic. There's only classic. There's like regular classic, and then there's like the 20th anniversary servers, which I don't exactly understand what the difference between those are. Truthfully, I really don't. I don't know why some are called classic hardcore and some are called hardcore anniversary. 20th anniversary or fresh start, mainly. Okay, what's the other one? What's the other one? Because I could have swore I saw there's another option for hardcore. They didn't want to wipe everyone else's progress. Those have been around for 2 to 3 years. Okay. I'm actually kind of scared to do things like dungeons. And even then, like, in-game content seems terrifying. In-game content sounds terrifying to do. Like, that is crazy hardcore. Oh my goodness. But I'm a little excited to be like back in Classic WoW because I played when Classic first came out. Whenever I actually checked, when I went to sub and it told me when I like last played WoW, October 6th, 2022. That was when I moved. That was right when I moved. Yesterday during our guild's first dungeon run that I was tanking. Oh, yeah, I mean, you did good today. Sheesh, hi, Broth. What are you up to? What trouble are you getting into? shenanigans are you up to on this hellscape of today? Also, hi Samuel, nice mocha emote. Nice mocha emote. Wait, hold on. I saw something in Mocha's server earlier. If I click this, is it going to say that she's still fine? Okay, she is still fine. Because there was an issue before when she was banned that when you clicked it, it would say the channel wasn't available. And then I could have swore somebody in the Discord said it made it sound like they said that Mocha was banned again. I was like, that doesn't sound right, but I wouldn't doubt it. The chibi ate my child. What? I've gotten more time in my hands as I'm in my last semester of college. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Debauchery, even. The usual tomfoolery, debauchery, shenanigans, trouble. What's some other ones? Buffoonery. I think that's all I got. Crime, probably crime. Crime will probably be involved. As everybody knows, every good amount of fun requires a little bit of crime. I've got more time on my hands. Oh, I did read that. Yeah. Whimsy's a good one. Also, whimsy. Yes, whimsy is important. Elf have been made officers right as you logged off, so ding one of us when you need an invite back to lurking. Have fun. Mega Squeak Beast. I can't hear debauchery and not hear... Oh, HHC? What is that? What is that, Mega? Why we have rules if not meant to be broken? True. Listen, laws are not moral more often than not. Lawful does not equal moral. Hate to tell you guys. Hate to tell you. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. I have not actually seen Orin High School Host Club, although every person I know that's ever watched it has watched it several times. Boo laws! OHSHC is how I say it. Oh, okay. But yeah, I haven't brought myself to ever watch it. I'm itty bitty sick, but I'll try to stay with you all. Hey, Roderick, well, welcome in. BK do crime? Yes, bruv. Yes, commit crime. Be homosexual. Laws are threats perpetuated by the dominant socioeconomic class. The police are just an occupying army. Oh my goodness. Itty bitty sick. Be all the gay, do all the crimes. Yep. It's also the fucking... It's so funny the things that he thinks he can legislate. It's so fucking funny. I'm good at making the war crime. What's the war crime? The big war crime? The capital W? What's the big... Wait, child soldiers? Is that the war crime? Are you Canadian? Is that what we're learning? All of them at the same time? You talking about Orange Man? Yeah. Because over here on like the trending section that I'm looking at, it's Elon doing the thingamajig that we can't even look it up if you don't want to. And then Fwump. Captain Fwump. I'm French?
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
Fucking good. Fucking good. I'm Canadian. We're the rulers of war crimes. That's what I was getting at. Also, hold on a second. Oh, sorry. I thought my nail was broken for a second because it snagged on something. That timing. Holy shit. Ordain's really good at their timing. Ordain's really good at their timing. He summons Armstrong like he's a fucking MMO ability. You're French! Listen, I'm technically, I mean, like, ancestrally French. I won't say I'm French because that's shit Americans say, and I hate that shit. It's like the people are just like, actually, I'm like 75% Italian. It's like, oh, so you like, are you like a practicing Italian? What kind of customs do you and your family do? Like, no, I'm just Italian. I like ravioli. I'm sadly bored in France. That's okay. That is okay. That is better. That is better. Practicing. Yeah, practicing Italian. That's like anytime somebody says that, it's like, I had a roommate, and I've mentioned this roommate before. This was my first semester when I transferred college. And the thing that he had, I wish I was joking, he had a card from the Cherokee Nation that marked him as part of the Cherokee Nation. Now, this is the same roommate I've mentioned to y'all before that like wouldn't eat anything besides meat and cheese. But he handed me the card one day and I read it. And this guy is the whitest kid you know, I promise you. If you picture what an 18-year-old white kid who just got out of his family's house looks like, you nailed it. You nailed it. Big truck included. On this card, it had his name, so-and-so, is a member of the Cherokee Nation, with proof that he is, and I wish I was joking about this, 1 in 125th Cherokee. I'm going to write that out just in case that didn't make sense to y'all's brain. 1 in 125. That was apparently how desperate they are to get us. No, like, this isn't even just on him. This is apparently from the actual Cherokee Nation. That's how, I guess, desperately they want to have like a strong consensus. Yeah, that's not even your big toenail. That's like your smaller 3. Has to be one of your smaller 3 toes. But like, I think that's where the phrase to my brain immediately like developed, where it's like, oh, so you're Cherokee but non-practicing. And it killed me. I looked at that and I was like, oh my God. Oh, because this kid was like 5 foot nothing, blonde hair, blue eyes, pale as dirt. Or not even pale as dirt, pale as the sky. And I was just like, I think it was real. It could have been real. But at the same time, looking at it, I'm like, this has to be a joke. This is a practical joke. Where are the cameras? This isn't real. It does feel kind of sad when you read it at that number. I was like, okay. How many times do you have to how many generations is that to go from 100% to 125? So let me see real quick. Let's do some math really quick. Let me get out the calculator. Calculator. 1 over 125. Okay. So that is 0.8%. So we have 0.8%. And then we're just going to kind of multiply it by 2, I guess, until we get to some recognizable number. 1.6 for one generation. 3.2. 6.4. It would have to probably be like a bunch of like half native people, I'm guessing. But this would probably also shrink much quicker with just one of the family members being native. So in about 5 or 6 generations, we would get a quarter Cherokee. So yeah. It was, wait, what? I hate Twitch ads. Wait, did you get Twitch ads? You shouldn't have gotten Twitch ads. We're well past ad break time. You could use the incest metric for this? No! Is that what you meant by the what? It was made for royalty? Okay, hold on. What? I'm gonna Google this. Coefficient of relationship. The coefficient of relationship is a measure of degree of consanguinity or biological relationship between two individuals. The term coefficient of relationship was defined by Sewall Wright in 1922. It was derived from the definition of the coefficient of inbreeding of 1921. The measure is most commonly used in genetics and genealogy. A coefficient of inbreeding can be calculated for an individual and is typically 1/2 the coefficient of the relationship between parents. In general, the higher the level of inbreeding, the closer the coefficient of relationship between the parents approaches a value of 1, expressed as a percentage, which 1 is 100% in percentages. In this case, because it's done in decimals, and approaches the value of 0 for individuals with arbitrarily remote common ancestors. Yeah, that's the we're Habsburging it up in here. We're Habsburging it up in here. Just ew. Yeah, very much so. Oh, wow. In dog breeding, it is recommended to keep the COI, or the coefficient of inbreeding, less than 5%. However, in some breeds, this may not be possible without outcrossing. Well, good Lord, no. No. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. I'm sorry, there was a diagram on that wiki page, and I don't want to consider what it was showing. Okay. Oh my God. All right. Fear. Someone did a DNA test. They came back 100%. I think it was Irish. The doctor told them that they were inbred. Yes. That was Conan. At least the most popular version of that I remember seeing was Conan, as in Conan O'Brien. I was gonna say, do I need to find the video? I know there's a video of Conan O'Brien getting his ancestry test. Here, I'll find it. 100%. Yeah, this is 5 years ago. Hold on. I want it cut out, because otherwise this is like a 10-minute interview. Ah, shit. Yeah, because it's a 10-minute video. I don't want the 10-minute video. Because that's like the whole official. Is there really only one video? There's only one video of that whole scene, and I know I've seen it cropped on like TikTok a long time ago. Well, there's a short. Okay, this may work. This may work. All right, really quick, let's swing over to the gaming screen. Do this. Cease the music. And let me make sure I do this thingamajig really quick. All right. And then that'll be fine.
He said, you are 100%. He said, I've never seen a 100% anything. He said, I've been doing this a lot. I've done it with lots of people. I've seen 93.5. I've seen 96.1. I've seen 97. There's no such, no one is 100% Irish. He said, if you go to Ireland, and I looked it up, and it's true, and you get their DNA samples, you will find out that the most Irish-looking people are like 86% Irish, 94% Irish. The Lucky Charms leprechaun, true fact, 11% Spanish. He said, you're 100%, and I said, I didn't know what to make of this. I said, what does it mean? He said, what does it mean? He said, it means you're inbred.
And you got the lucky batch of the juice.
He said it just like that. He said it like that. He said, you are 100%. He said,
yeah, it was Conan. It was somebody that was 100% Irish. Yeah, it's Conan O'Brien. I'm sorry. Just the case. It's Jesus. Also, during that, I realized I was logged into the wrong thing. All right, that's fixed for later. And then let me bring back the music. Flawless. Chat, we need to figure out what we were doing today. I originally on the schedule said, y'all probably don't want to watch me play an MMO. What am I saying? We played like WoW, Wrath of the Lich King Classic when that first came out, and like that was basically just a chill hangout time. I don't think I'd look at my parents or grandparents the same again. The question. Okay, so genetically speaking, Palm would probably know this better than I would. The WoW addiction is coming back. I'm gonna try to keep it off of stream in like my free time. Spooky runaway time? All right, well, that's a selling point for me. We're getting pretty close. Probably a little bit longer, but I'll go ahead and pop into Discord, Sai, if you want to play.
Connected.
And then let me... If y'all heard that, that's my fucking intro sound. That's my intro sound. Oh my god. All right. Okay. Connected. Yeah, it's the old TeamSpeak connected voice. Is what I'm gonna do. Good night, Ordain. Sleep well. And remember, you don't live in the hellscape that's about to become America. TeamSpeak Connect intro. Yep. Oh my god. Connected. Hi, Sai.
Connected. Hello.
Let me go put you in your special little corner.
My special corner. Do I have a special corner?
Well, kind of just to the side.
Hi, chat. This is my special corner. I'm nothing without this corner. This corner is me and I'm Ed.
Oh my god. Del didn't follow me before? Del.
Bruh.
Mr. Shark.
Holy shit.
Also, go put your air fryer in the kitchen, you fucking weirdo. First time, chat. Del! Del hates me. Del hates me.
Can we get 10 gifted subs because Del hates Marin?
Del hates me. I don't know why my fucking weekly passes haven't reset, because they're supposed to reset on Saturday night.
Don't worry about it.
At like, I think it's Saturday at GMT 0. Oh no, I think it's 23:59. I think is when it resets.
23:59.
Basically, as soon as it clicks over in the GMT time zone to midnight for Sunday.
I can't believe Del Shark hates Marin go around. That's the video. That's the title.
Oh, good fucking lord.
Are we jumping in right away?
Probably a couple of minutes of yapping. Did Faye yell at you about what nostalgia I picked back up?
No.
I was playing WoW Hardcore before stream.
Oh wait, you told Marin. Hold up, wait, where's my notebook? I need to make this official.
What do you mean official?
Okay, we're having a therapy session. No! Yep.
But I'll probably only play until I die, and then I'll cry, and then I'll never want to play the game again.
Anyway.
Until the character I devote multiple hours to dies, and then I'll just want to throw myself off a cliff.
Okay, so let's start. Why?
Because
what do you think the end goal of playing WoW Classic
and a bunch of other people made it look like a lot of fun, and I haven't got to have that MMO itch scratched in years.
Are you sure this relationship is good for you right now?
I mean, it cost one meal, roughly, for an entire month of entertainment.
It's not worth it.
What do you mean?
It's not worth it.
Sorry,
That's
Chad.
an
This
extra
is
meal a
now
month.
World of Warcraft stream. Side, download it.
No.
Aww.
You're tearing this family apart!
No! Ooh.
See, I love the aesthetic of WoW. Every single time I see it, I'm like, oh, it looks so cute and so fun. I love that like that aesthetic. And then I boot it up, I'm like, wow, this is so fucking boring.
It's the MMO thing. Like, if you don't like MMOs, then you won't enjoy WoW. But it's like, I love MMOs, and I played so many of them. Even when I was a kid, like, I would constantly try to find other MMOs to play because my family wouldn't, like, let me get a sub to WoW or anything. Until I, like, had
used
my
to
own
play
job
it.
and stuff, and I was just paying for it myself.
I used to play it. I played through what is the Panda expansion?
Miss the Pandaria.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like amazing, but I only played through it because I paid for it, and I'm like, okay, I might as well. And that was it.
Played way too many MMOs. I've played so many, and I tried to play Guild Wars 2, and I wanted to do some of the stuff that like I used to do when I played WoW, which was like PvP and everything. And I just kept getting decimated, and no matter how many guides I watched or how much I tried to figure out the classes I was playing, I would just get absolutely deleted.
Oh, there's like some people who have like 4 fucking mouses and like 7 keyboards and like 2 stream decks with all the keybinds. I'm not like a huge MMO person. I really, really, really liked was it like Valhalla, whatever, for a while.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was like I'm pretty sure it's not the right name, but it was like a MMO where it was like you could have like a fist fighting that was like only close combat. There was guns.
Wasn't Terra. Wasn't Blade and Soul.
Maybe Terra. I can't remember. And then I played through or played a bit of oh my god, what was it called? It was the one who had like insane graphics for a while. BDO.
Black Desert Online? Okay, yeah. The one that I convinced a lot of people to play at one point. Because
Yeah.
it always goes on sale for either like free or like $1.
But I played through that for a while. And I was like, eh.
I still casually play only because my ex-husband bought me the exact and year of time. Okay, I got you. I have to force myself to play because of that I don't even ask him to. The thing, last time I mentioned this before. Last time I played WoW before today was October 6th, 2022. Before I started streaming. That was I believe. No. It couldn't have been the 22nd because I was moving that day. I moved on like the 21st. Yeah, I moved on like the 21st of October. So maybe it was an earlier. It was sometime in October 2022. And teach me WoW. I don't know if I would have teach anybody WoW because I hate Blizzard technically. But I'm playing like the classic, the hardcore, because so many people, a bunch of people I know recently are playing hardcore WoW, and it would be like a fun little thing to do because I need something like scratch that itch. 90% of my time outside of stream is spent staring at my monitor being like, what do? What do? Because I'm stupid. And I know what Sai's going to say if I ask Sai what do. Sai, what are you going to say if I say what do?
Anything?
Well, no, my guess was you were going to tell me to go work on that video idea I've had for months.
Oh, that too. But I keep saying that over and over again.
Only dabbed into Lord of the Rings Online, DC Online, RuneScape. I played RuneScape. I played DC Universe Online.
DCU.
I tried Elder Scrolls Online. I hated it. It's awful.
I did not like Elder Scrolls Online. I did really like DC Universe for a while. But again, it was like, that's the thing with MMOs. I liked them for like 5 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I'm bored.
There was, I've mentioned this before. Firefall was one that good old Grums, aka Mark Kern, was the CEO of. That was one that I played when it was in alpha and beta. And then it died because the longer it went into beta, the more content they removed from it, which made no sense. Like, I can't believe the game's beta was better when it started and just got worse
DayZ is
over time.
So, like, convoluted. It's crazy. There's so many menus.
And then Global Agenda. And if I remember correctly, Global Agenda was a sci-fi MMO. It was a shooter MMO made by Hi-Rez, the company that made Smite.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
What, Roth, did you play Global Agenda too? I played an engineer in Global Agenda, so I had like a little robot arm and I could put turrets down. It was really cool.
We should do one day? We should do like a 10-hour stream where just like we full on TISM our way through Factorio.
I've never played Factorio.
Me neither, but I know for a fact if I start playing it, it's going to be like a 10-hour thing.
No, the thing was, Neko, too, in the timeline when they were like releasing the game and shit, Mark Kern would tell them what he wanted. They would work on it for several months because he would just disappear. And then he'd come back and then he would tell them all the shit they did was wrong. They would make stuff, they would implement that stuff, and then he would come back and tell them it was wrong, and then they would have to remove it from the game, which is why the beta went from having so much stuff to do to more stuff being added to all of that stuff being removed. Because Mark Kern would come in and be like, it's still right. I never played Star Trek Online, but I do know Star Trek had the Star Trek Online game had a thing where if you had a trouble, which was like those little like puffballs in your bags or even in your bank, and there was food in those bags, they would consume 1 unit of food and multiply into another treble. And they would fill every bag space. That is not the Cyberpunk 2077 1.0 thing. No, Mark Kern was much worse, and it is not comparative to even day of release 2077.
God. Boots of Cyberpunk for the 40th time.
Let's go.
Here we go. Oh, shit.
Here we go again. Pans to me sitting here holding a cigarette, tired as shit, just like, you set the bar too high, Cyberpunk. Every other RPG shit by comparison.
God, I want to. Oh, that's Cyberpunk.
Ava Online or Wizard 101. I played Wizard 101 for a while, but again, I couldn't spend money on games. I didn't have a RuneScape membership, which also meant I didn't have a Wizard 101 membership. And only on occasion would I be able to buy like those Wizard 101 cards that would give you premium currency. And in Wizard 101, you hit the like paywall really fucking quick. I'm talking like 3 hours into gameplay. And then you would have to start paying for maps. So you would either have a membership and you can go to any map, or you would have to spend premium currency to unlock the next section of progression, the next map you had to go to. Which would be about like an hour of gameplay if you knew what you were doing, if you were a fairly clever kid playing Wizard 101. You could get through an area in like an hour, maybe 2. Star Wars The Old Republic. I love The Old Republic because it feels like a BioWare game. It feels like a single player game with like a bunch of multiplayer stuff slapped around it. It's really fun. You get a lot of really cool stories and a lot of cool introductions to Star Wars stuff that didn't have any media portrayal outside of books at that time. What were you saying, Sai?
Good. I've never played the Star Wars one before.
It's really fun. I've played it with a lot of people just over the years. When you get the SWTOR expansions, that's true. Although most of the expansions go from like, because the primary game, you have like class-specific stories that you can do. And then getting to expansions is pretty much the same story for every expansion. Yeah. Yeah. Type feels it is a BioWare game. What were all the elements in Wizard 101? Life, death. Life was like nature. Death was, of course, like, well, death magic and shit. Ice, fire, storm. which was like everything weather related. I don't remember any of the others. Was that it? Was that all of them? Let me see. I'm gonna end up Googling this. Elements. Magic schools. Oh my god, the website is still, it looks like an HTML document. Okay, it was Fire, Ice, Storm were like the elemental ones. And then there was Myth, Life, and Death. Myth was like you would summon mythological creatures. Like one example I remember was you could summon like a Cyclops, which was kind of neat. And then there was Balance. There was Balance, which was like a weird kind of like middle ground of like always not doing like a lot of damage, but always being able to deal like a little bit of damage. It just like, it couldn't be resisted, and it was interesting. But this website also says there's something called astral schools. Sun, moon, and star are reserved for the strongest wizards and are designed to work as supplementary spells. I don't remember seeing these at all. Because, again, I didn't play premium, so I guess I just never got where it was necessary. Oh. Okay, yeah, they're all like buffs and stuff, or like transformation things. Like the moon one looks like it's all like, it turns you into different monsters. And then I'm guessing you just get to do different things as those monsters.
Oh, that reminds me of Evolve. Remember that?
Oh my god, I miss Evolve so much. Now the only way to play
Same.
Evolve is if you get a full party together.
Oh, I remember Evolve.
You can still download it, but you have to get the whole party together. So you know what I'm thinking? Faye!
Evolve time.
We're not going to be able to do it today because it's fairly big.
No.
I'm actually going to take a goofy little glance at a thing. Oh my god, 23 friends have played this game. Rav's one of them. Bone Collar.
We're talking about the game Evolve, but you can't really play it without a full party.
Yeah, it's local only. Yes, I'm Faye. Evolve, yeah, Evolve Stage 2. The old 1v4 before DBD, where you played as 4 hunters and one person played as a giant monster that could devour across the map and like level up and evolve. And then after you hit a certain level, you would have an objective that you would have to like destroy a reactor or something. And the hunter's job was to stop you. Astral has it. Although if you don't have it, I don't think you can get it now.
Oh yeah, I don't know if even I have it. I just remembered
You
it.
do. It said that you have it, but yeah, you
Okay.
can't get it anymore. It's unlisted on Steam. You may be able to find it on like Abandonware, possibly. I don't know. But Evolve had the. You're bringing me to cry, Marin. What's wrong, Dave? I remember Evolved. I liked Evolve. But it had a problem when it came out that brain fart. Sorry, I read Teddy's message again for some reason, and it reset my brain to Wizard 101. But okay, I remember what I was talking about. Evolve, when it first released, had a problem with premium content in the case that like new hunters and new monsters, when they came out, became premium content. You would have to pay for them to get to play for them early. And then like I think there was one monster that was premium edition exclusive, which was Behemoth, I think.
Yes, it was like the largest monster or whatever.
Yeah, Evolve monsters. Let me double check. Yeah, it was Behemoth. Behemoth was like the roller one. And then there's not to mention Meteor Goliath, which was basically a burning version of Goliath, which was like the first monster for the game. He was a blue fire version. What have we become? Yeah, it's like everything was premium. The only way to get premium content in that game was to pay for it. You couldn't earn it. It felt almost random which hunters and which monsters would become essentially free to buy if you use the in-game currency, as opposed to premium only. Like, it was just random. Like, a new hunter would come out and you'd be like, okay, it's new. It's probably going to be premium when it first comes out only. And then like a week or two later, it becomes free to buy with the regular in-game currency. And then other times it just doesn't. It just stays premium forever. And it never made any sense. Hi, Newell. But yeah. Yeah. That's like, it had the same problem as a lot of other games do too from the beginning, where you're forced to play, if you want to play a certain role, because there's 4 roles in Evolve, and you can only have one of each role. That's the wrong head, Pat Newell. You can only have one of each role. So it was like, I think it was, let me actually double check. Evolve Hunter roles. Assault, Trapper, Medic, and Support. So Assault was just a guy, you typically big guns, big armor. Their whole thing was to deal the biggest, fastest amount of damage. Trapper is exactly what it sounds like. It was the type of person who would have the ability to trap the monster under a giant dome if you got close enough to it. Medic, of course, the healer, and Support would often give anything from like buffs to other kind of benefits to the entire party. It depended on which hunter you were playing. But when you started the game, you only had one of each. You could only play one of each. And then every hunter that came out after that had so much more variety away from the basic hunters that you started with that people typically wanted those. There was one trapper hunter that, if I remember correctly, actually had I say dog, but no, she had a pet. What was her name?
Yeah, she did.
Maggie? No.
Yes.
No,
No, it
Maggie's
is
the
Maggie.
character. Okay, Maggie's the character that had the dog, but what's the Trapjaw? Yeah, Trapjaw's the species. Daisy the Trapjaw. There we go. Hi, Undead. But yeah, she was everybody's like favorite hunter because she was super easy to play. And I think she has a price here, so she wasn't the base hunter. I think the base hunter was Griffin. It was the old man with the mutton chops. Yeah, Griffin. He had a harpoon gun. That was his shebang. His meat and potatoes was having a harpoon gun. Smelly. All right, chat, get your knives out. All of them are available in the non-free-to-play game. Non-free-to-play game. Do you mean if you had like a premium account?
Oh, I see.
Is that what you're talking about? No? Oh, do you mean before Evolve Stage 2? When it was just Evolve? Right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, Evolve was the pay to play. Yes. And I had Evolve. I paid for Evolve at that point. I remember buying the game and then they did the stage 2 thing. But yeah, it's that game was fun in its own way. It just got absolutely decimated by its own community for pulling some of the scummiest shit imaginable and taking way too long to create new shit. But Jesus. I remember how many return copies of EB Games Canadian GameStop there was. Oh, were people returning the game at launch? I wouldn't doubt it. Go ahead and opening up the Trauma Simulator.
Trauma! Here we come.
But we have 5 minutes until the ad break, and we'll just go ahead and go straight into it once the ad break starts. And I will mute the game for chat because it's slightly louder than the music. Stop whispering in my ear, strange doctor.
I'm booting it up.
Aye, Captain. Bambino! Okay. I'm not going to do anything in the game while chat can't see it. So I will wait before I start doing all of the a little bit extra stuff here and there. But good lord. Yeah, I think that game had a lot of potential. I just think they fucking flubbed it. I think they flubbed it hard. What were some of the other games that were like that during that time? Because that's the same. Evolves was the same window as Firefall. Skyforge. Skyforge was my favorite MMO that I was looking forward to. Have I never shown you Skyforge?
I know about Skyforge.
I was gonna say you were the closest to where it was made because it was a Eastern Europe, Russia made game. I loved Skyforge when it came out. I was actually on the top national leaderboard when it launched.
Really?
Yeah. I played for several weeks going in, but this game had a problem. It had soft caps. It had weekly soft caps. You could only gain so much power, or quote, basically what the levels were in this game. You could only get so strong each week before you hit the soft cap, where you would go from getting like hundreds upon thousands of experience points to like put into your stats and everything upon doing missions or dungeons and stuff. That once you hit that soft cap, you went from hundreds upon thousands to single digits. I mean, like you would do a whole mission, you get 9. Now the intention was to have it so that like people could catch up. So if you like missed a week, technically that your soft cap would actually stack on top of itself. But that there was always a ceiling towards progression that I guess would probably give the developers enough time to make new stuff over time. But it just felt bad because you would hit that soft cap day one because of how much experience those bonuses were giving you before the soft cap. You could do what was seemingly attempted to be a week's worth of progression in like 3-4 hours.
Oh. Holy shit, this person's room is crazy.
But when the game launched, they had a thing called like the Ascension Codex, and I've talked about it before. And it was really fucking cool. The whole premise of Skyforge is you are an immortal. You were originally a soldier. You go on a mission. You lose. You die to basically think of a Skaven. I can't remember what they're actually called, but they're rat people. You die to an invasion of rat people. And then you wake up. You have been blessed by the planet and given immortality to prove yourself. And the big part of like the beginning of the entire game is basically just proving yourself as an immortal, eventually ascending to godhood. And then you get to play as a god, and it's fucking awesome.
We have put Marion on the MMO grind.
But the thing was, I tried to play it on my original account a long while back. But
actually,
there was a problem.
While the ad break is going, I'm gonna go and grab something to drink super quick.
Go ahead. This is also the thing for chat. There was a problem they had. Who knows what a reverse bell curve is? Basically, think of like the shape of a bell, generally, and then flip it upside down. All the players were either at the lower levels or the upper levels. I'm talking like in game. There was nobody in the middle ground. So it was extremely hard to be able to do any content unless you started the game with people and all of y'all played the game all the way through to end game. I couldn't get groups to do dungeon content. I couldn't get groups to go do world content, to do some of like the like world bosses or the like mid bosses. Like, you know, when you have like quests that are like, go kill this named person, it's gonna take 2 or 3 people. There was nobody I could get to like come help me or do anything. I'm at the game, so I'll just say hi. Hi, Rian. But that wasn't even the worst part. Apparently, at some point, when the original developer sold Skyforge to a different developer, they redid the entire stat system, but they didn't fucking think it through in order for them to adjust old mechanics. So all of the old gear my character was still wearing, even though it was technically the same gear number, like necessary for me to like enter zones and go do stuff of my level. I would go there and my stat numbers were so low, it would take me forever to kill a regular mob. And I'd have to use all of the healing items and abilities at my fingertips just to stay alive. It was a pain. And there was no easy way to like remedy like any of that shit. It was really annoying. But I miss the game. I really do on occasion. They still do updates apparently. They still do updates, which is actually kind of impressive. But we'll be back in just a bit, guys. There's the ad break. I need to get y'all the iPad really quick. And then let me do this thing and we'll get right into Outlast. And I'll try not to nerd out so much over MMOs because I'm sorry, I'm a fucking nerd. I'm a nerd. I can't help it. I can't help it. But good luck, kiddos. Don't let anybody burn the place down. I will be back in just a bit. So will Sai probably.
Okay, chat. Roger's gone. Hype train. Hype train. Hype train. Ba, 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 ba. Let's go! More subs! Actually, also, you can donate directly to Marion's coffee shop, which also makes her get more of the money instead of giving it to John Twitch, which would be absolutely fantastic and amazing and beautiful. But also, that's awesome. Thank you so much for the gift of subs and thank you for starting Hype Train. Hype Train! Hype Train! Hype Train! More subs! More gifted! Go crazy! Chat, it is so sad. Marion isn't here yet. Can we get 55,000 gifted subs? It's just a small number. Just a tiny, tiny amount of subs. Hmm. Marion, you're not real. Everyone knows that once a streamer isn't on screen, they're not real anymore. Until they pop back on. At least nobody donated subs or anything.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was doing some last minute Skyforge searching. I just didn't want to just didn't want to do the thing and just be here while I was nerding out for a minute. Also, Zagaball, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Really does mean a lot. I don't know what it's going to set to tomorrow because we did definitely not do 34 today. I swear that reset clock is wrong somehow. Because it even says in Stream Elements like thing where it's supposed to like reset because these are the last vestiges of Stream Elements. I would much rather get rid of them, but like a lot of my stuff only works in Stream Elements. It was coded for Stream Elements, and thus far, all right. Put you away. Turn the music back down a little bit. Turn it down so I can't hear it. And then we'll do a little bit of swinging over. Therapy time.
Therapy time. So, when I was younger... That's exactly what therapy is sometimes.
There it is. Okay, I was like, hello? All right, I must customize. This is important, chat. I'm sorry. What posters do I have? Can I hang flesh or anything? No.
I can't believe Marion is playing edgy Sims right now.
It's Jeebus. Edgy Sim, what do you mean?
Edgy Sims.
I see. Yes, you were correct. Never mind. I get it. I see where you're going with this. Oh, right. So I bought the gingerbread pants.
All right. I got new stuff too. I remember.
The bloody gingerbread pants.
God,
hi, Fizz. Dell, are you coming or what?
The Unholy Night Pack.
I don't know if I added you on Steam yet, but I'll get you my code as soon as you get in here.
It's Brittany, bitch.
There's that slut.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Oh!
I need your Steam code.
Okay, boss. give me about a second. I'll get you my Steam code. Don't you worry a second, boss.
This is so sad, Chad. So sad. Can we get 5 gifted subs?
Oh my god.
Chat, this is so sad. Can we get 10 gifted subs? Stella's here now. Oh no.
What?
Okay, it looks
Dell,
like
come play
the
game next to me. Come play a game with me.
I'm coming.
And
you're what?
I don't know.
I said I'm coming. No, all right. God damn it.
Fucking ladies and
Always
gentlemen,
has been.
we got him.
Oh, here's Bambito. Complete 5 trials of special therapy. Score 8 less than 3 trials. Throw 25 projectiles at Franco. Bully the Hobbit.
I have yet to touch the new map.
How define new map?
The newest Hobbit-looking guy that they've added. I've yet to touch anything.
It's okay. I don't think I've touched it either. So we will probably get to touching it today. What is? Oh, it's probably select trial. Yeah, there's flashback therapy. Bambino, bring baby to work day. Joins the prime asset already.
Bambino.
Oh.
What? Oh.
Oh. So it's
some guy just whispered in my ear.
It's
Careless
all
whispers.
It's all missions that aren't Lupara's mission. So like say we do like grind the bad apples, both Lupara and Mother Gooseberry are going to be there.
Oh, that's gonna be fucking annoying.
Say, I don't think I want to do that.
Those are all good ones.
No.
They're not that bad.
I'd rather do some of the core ones for like missions that I've never done before. Actually, I do remember we did do Pleasure the Prosecutor.
Yes, we did.
Kill the snitch, cleanse the orphans, grind bad apples.
Excuse me.
I think I've only done Pervert the Futterman once. Refreshing in 15 hours. Jesus.
You know what? It is your stream, man. We'll do exactly whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, whatever one works.
As long as we get to run around, make stupid jokes, and go, ah!
Oh, that's always guaranteed.
Chad gets to watch me piss myself. It's gonna be a good time.
I don't think I want to do a mission where there's 2 prime assets.
Why not?
Oh, also let me, yeah, I need to accept the thing. I always forget sometimes how like Steam's like friend things work. Like I sent you a code. It's like, okay. Oh, right. I still have
Wait,
to
did you get the
accept
new
when you
cutscene,
put
by
it
the
in.
way?
That's right. I also need to move this little weirdo standing in the corner.
Bambino. All right.
There we go. Bambino.
I gotta remember how to join you.
It's okay. I got it already.
Oh wait, I just accidentally invited you. Oops.
Yeah, you did.
I got it. I got it. I joined.
All right. Let me. Oh, I remember what I was going to do. Where am I?
I'm looking sassy slay.
Oh, wait a second. I'm going to have to do a different thing. God damn it. There we go. I need my goggles. Okay.
I
I only have some premium currency. Don't know how I got premium currency. All right,
happens all the time.
we'll do standard. We'll do standard instead of the introductory.
I'm okay with that. I
But
like this plan. It can only go good.
good. Yeah, let's do Pervert Fetterman.
Aye, boss. Whatever you say, boss.
Hi, boss.
Damn
Okay,
it.
boss. Yeah, right, boss. Whatever you say, boss. Get the fucking. Ah. Yes, boss. Whatever you
Yes,
say, boss.
boss. Whatever you say,
Yes,
boss.
Sorry, I gotta go to a trial. No more.
No more tomfoolery. Oh God, he's in my ears.
Some guy just whispered "I love you" in my ear.
Good Lord.
Are we gonna watch TV?
I'm gonna watch a movie.
Wow!
Oh
It's
my
my
goodness.
therapy
favorite
time.
TV show. Psychic
It's
Damage.
it's my favorite TV show. If you ever go over to Sai's house, that's what's happening. It's you're standing there watching a static TV.
It's my favorite
I
show.
had the game
No.
muted for a second, so I had to turn it on.
Oh wow, no wonder why my PC's dying. All my settings got put to epic.
I was about to
fucking
check that
epic.
because I think my settings got changed too. Graphics.
I hate
Happens
when
all
the
the
guy without a
time.
face punches me in my face.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
it is turned up to epic.
It's epic.
Rated E for everyone.
Enable ray tracing. Nah, get that shit out of here.
What? You don't play with ray tracing?
Who the fuck streams with ray tracing on?
I tried to stream this once and it changed all my settings to epic with ray tracing.
It
And
does.
my
I think it
Lord.
does it every time there's an update, and it like rechecks your graphics card. Because it does it to me too, which is why I was like,
Soon.
well, it gets good
I know,
because
but
I
thank you
like
for the 3 stream streak.
everything was going fine and dandy until I tried to load into a trial by myself, and then my PC immediately blue screened the moment I
Oh, that's
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I say this game already looks horrendous, like terrifying enough without having ray tracing and shit on.
Imagine it in VR.
I don't think there's
Oh,
VR
Lord, no.
set up for this. I wouldn't doubt if somebody's modded it though.
They're working on a VR mod for
That's off of mine.
the normal game.
Bottles. Okay. Yeah, I'm in. Oh, hey, buddy.
There's something over here. Sai.
Yeah, it's the person in the bag. All right, so
Don't worry about it.
factory
Wants
closed.
to give you
Key
a
in
hug.
basement. Okay, where's the basement?
Past this person, I think. No,
Oh.
it's not.
Careful,
Bandage. May need that.
Where is the basement? Oh,
There's a door. No, this truck's just open. This is just a round. This is just a loop.
oh, you got the poster before I could.
Nice. We have
Oh,
friends
basement right
coming.
here.
Oh no, it's a giant. He's coming! He's coming!
Come here. We're at the basement.
Oh.
Here, I'm holding it.
Oh! Oh, you're fucking joking.
Oh,
Bitch. He didn't. He didn't. He didn't.
Oh.
He didn't. Did you get jumped
You
too?
good?
door trap.
Oh.
And the gas guy.
just-
Delly gotta run.
Because he can't see us, so just keep it quiet. Oh, right.
Oh, brick. Oh, we put the head on the. Okay, I see.
How do
I
we...
got the trash box. I don't know where the conveyor belt is. Why am I whispering?
Oh, that's right. It's this guy in here. Hey, buddy. Hey, there's a box over there.
Oh, I found a box of parts.
Yeah, we gotta go to the conveyor belt. I got no idea where it is.
You just gotta go
Careful
through. You gotta go
now.
through here.
Where?
Put in compactor.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, once you put it on the conveyor, then I can get it here.
Sick.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this map uses like a lot of uh-oh.
Oh, you asshole. It's the spray guy.
Yeah.
Alright, another box.
long as you're-
Boom.
As long as you're quiet, you'll be fine. He's somewhere here.
I think that's the last one. It doesn't tell us how many boxes we need.
I'm looking around.
Trying to see if there's another one.
There it is. Yeah, that was the last one.
Oh, perfect.
Sick.
I was gonna say, I think it's only
Key inside.
three,
Fill the
but-
compactor. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, I heard that.
I don't
I
think
walked. I hopped through a window. Right as
All right,
he
we just
walked
go
by.
the same way. Hi, buddy.
He's coming your way. Here, I got you. Oh fuck! I hit the. Oops.
Oh, whoops. The fuck I will. The fuck I will.
It's open.
I'm on my way.
It's okay. I found the other way out too.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I'm up.
Door's open.
Check.
Perfect.
Look how cool
killing
and
it.
epic we are.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? I love how Dally didn't say anything.
I said, "Oh no!"
There's
Oh,
a
that
naked
is not get
giant.
out of the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hiding in a trash bag.
Snooping. I'm looking for fun things. There's no fun things. Oh,
I'm
there's
hiding.
this door. Oh, I can't ping. There's the confidential door here, which probably means I see one button.
All right.
I found a fake. I found a
come
fake.
over there. Here's.
There's a fake Dell about.
Oh no!
Oh, he's coming towards y'all.
I've got a glass bottle. I'll smack him in the forehead.
Wait, where's the other? Oh, that's
I'm
the
at the
machete
production
person.
line.
Where's the?
Ran
There's
into
so
him
many
face
of
first.
you.
I ran into the giant face first. He just wasn't chasing me, which is so funny.
I'm pissing and shitting.
Okay.
Hi, gamers. I'm gonna press the big button.
All right. So now we need to find, what is this? This is wax? Okay, so we need to find wax. Technically, I think it's supposed to tell us a number. That's a penis. Hi, Sin.
Penis.
Location, control room. Okay. So we need to go to the control room and find the key, which is up this way.
Bet.
Control room A.
Oh yeah, because there's a door.
Found it. Okay. Coming back. Oh, was that a brick? Yeah, give me the brick.
Bricks are the best.
Okay.
So that should open these doors. I
Chat, this is
think.
what happens when you don't go to therapy.
Go to therapy, chat. It's
Alright. Find wax boxes in storage. A875.
A875. Okay.
Okay.
That is the box we are looking for. If we do not find that box, the box will explode.
A875.
I'm totally
They'll
going the wrong
typically be
way.
in storage rooms.
B59. C.
Take that.
8264.
A759.
A879. A759.
875, that's all we need.
No, wasn't it A8759?
A875.
Okay.
875, found it.
Okay, and then you gotta put it on the conveyor belt, and I'll go downstairs and get it. Now, as this goes on, it gets harder because there's gonna be more storage rooms that open up, and we'll have to keep running back and forth to find stuff.
Oh no.
And then I think starting in the next one, we'll have to start dodging, Mrs. Butterman.
Oh boy. The crazy lady.
Mother Gooseberry, if you will.
Oh, there's like a little TV. Oh, you don't get.
I don't remember this one. Some of these, they may require more than one. I think they do, because there's 2 lights on this machine.
Okay.
Yeah, A360 is the next one.
A360.
A360.
23. Okay.
Oh, got it.
Nice.
Oh, perfect.
Battery. Battery.
Yeah, what do we got batteries for days?
God, no. No. Do not start.
Winnowing.
Shit. I'm sad I don't think I've ever had a sponsored stream from Outlast Trials, but I love this game. Because you get to learn like a weird twisted like history. But there's actually like real history in this game, which is even weirder.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know. Okay, so how many endings have you done?
I've only done the one.
Every ending that happens, because it changes every so often with numerous patches, they're basically actual historical events that happened. It's just that this game is insinuating that they were done by sleeper agents.
Okay. Please proceed.
Welcome to
Just
section
go
B.
back down.
Oh, I hear mine. Hiya!
B699.
B699. All right.
Yep.
Oh man.
This guy is getting his rock
There's also somebody
shot
coming
on.
in. I also need to get to control room B, which I think I have to progress to C and then come back. Oh, okay. You can find multiple stuff now. So you can also come to C and get stuff. I'm gonna take that.
Oh.
All right. Let's see.
C435.
Oh, I got B699.
Nice. Oh, good lord.
What do you mean I can put this on the conveyor belt?
It may be the wrong conveyor belt. You're on conveyor belt A. You need to come bring it to B.
Oh, shit. Why am I so slow? What is happening?
Oh, okay. I probably need to go all the way back to get upstairs. Oh, hi! Jesus. Oh, damn it.
I unfortunately do not have a brick.
Warning, alarm will sound. Okay.
I found cherry
Well-
soda.
So when that happens, they're calling extra X Pops.
Oh, you fucking ass.
The box is on the way downstairs on the conveyor belt. Oh, hey, poster.
He's in archives. Fuck.
I'm at archives.
Okay, I'll go back to B
I'm
then.
getting chased. I'll grab it here in just a sec.
There's another art. I'll do that. I'll fucking push it. Fuck it.
The box is just on
Oh,
the
hi.
conveyor belt. Because I didn't make it.
That's fine. Just
I will just stay here until it comes back. She's going upstairs.
I just found a key.
Oh, we got it? Okay.
No, I see the symbol.
I found it. I've
Oh,
got C.
the Night Haunter's here. Where did he go? Did you get the key that was just in there? The symbol just
Yeah.
disappeared for me.
Yeah, I've got C key. I'm headed to the control room for C right now.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's new. The tentacles I
Using
saw
archives.
can actually hit you. God damn it.
Box, come here.
No, fake cry, get away from me!
Okay. Okay. Wait, was that an antitoxin?
I'm putting the first box on B. Let's go! Oh shit! B186.
B186. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Getting rid of that.
I'm looking for the one in C right now.
C was the archives key. I think Gooseberry's coming up.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she
She's
is.
upstairs.
Am I in D right now? I am so lost.
You could say, yeah, you need to come back towards us.
I'm coming.
Trying to check control room B to see where it says things are. Break room. Okay, I know where that is. Because I was just right next to it.
I got the B186.
Nice.
Oh, I see Gooseberry. She's in control room A.
Yeah, I just walked past her.
What the fuck is that? I'm fucked.
You're not fucked. As long as you're alive, you can still be fucked more.
Oh, true. I just got sandwiched between some guy who was like screaming his fucking head off.
Wait, it said
And
it was...
Gooseberry.
Oh, is this not the right room? Is there multiple break rooms?
Where are we supposed to insert these keys, by the way?
At the terminals, where you would like drop off the boxes?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Putting second box in B and running for my life.
Okay, I think Gooseberry is still outside here.
I think so as well.
I'm being ducked!
Said it was supposed to be in break rooms. What the fuck was that? I don't like that. I don't like that.
Hello, run.
Chat, come hold my hand. Chat, come hold my hand. I wish somebody had clipped the fucking scream of me running face first into the giant.
I'm pretty sure we're done with B, but I can see what.
No, we need
it
the
says
key for
beside the
B.
one.
I put C's key in.
Yeah, break room.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm going back to check. I swear that said break room.
Okay, we're done with the boxes at B at least.
This is A. Fuck.
Well, it is not joy for children. Get away from me.
Yeah, break room.
C 435.
I don't think there's another break room.
435.
Jesus.
435 box.
Okay.
Take that adrenaline, though. Okay, so I need to go back. Is there another break room? Showers.
Where are... What the fuck?
Keeping the X pops occupado.
Did somebody else pick up the key at some point?
For what room?
Break room. Oh, nope, here it is. Tucked in the corner where the symbol, for some reason, wasn't showing up. Okay. I'll be coming down to B in just a second if y'all want to work on C stuff.
C 435. Got it.
Perfect.
No, this isn't B, this is C.
If anyone is at B right, or I mean C right now, the box is on the conveyor belt. We'll be down.
I'm here.
Down there in
Alright,
like
yeah, so
50
B's
years.
about to progress through, and then this guy's heading straight to C.
Assembly feeder full. Assembly line resuming.
Time to get tar and feathered. Poor guy.
Happens to the best of us.
Is this the right box that's coming on the conveyor belt?
Yes.
Okay. I think for C though, I think the pickup place is upstairs. All right, I got
Well?
435.
Sick.
And where's the drop off?
Uh oh.
Assembly feeder bin is empty. Assembly line paused.
Here we go.
Ladies coming.
Yep. All right, I'm heading upstairs. Fast as I can. Oh, hi. I can't ping her. I can't ping her because my fucking mouse click doesn't work. Huh.
Oh my god.
Where would this stairs upstairs? Hi, Dal.
Uh oh.
Where
Help.
are?
She's in here. She's in C. She's right in there.
But say I know she's in
Wow.
C, but I'm trying to get upstairs.
Del, run.
To open the door. Nice. Offices.
Oh, hey. No,
No.
you gotta let it through.
Oh.
Oh, this is where
Oh,
we
we
came
gotta
in.
grab it
Stupid.
up top. I see.
Oh, I see where we can pick up the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly where we came in. I'm dumb.
No, I just missed the box. Fuck!
That's fine. It'll come back around if you can just find a nearby hiding spot.
It's a barrel right next to the conveyor belt.
And you've already have you put the control room C key in already?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. Would we?
What are we, a genius?
Says the person who has the fucking their fryer in their room.
It's actually like an oven thingy or something like that.
I can say it's exactly what a something fryer is. Here, I hear her.
It's like
All
an
right, Sai, it's
easy
coming
bake
up to you.
oven.
Yep.
Oh,
Wait, he's on
it's
the-
that
oh.
guy.
Wait, what? Oh, it comes around the other end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to take it? Do you want me to take it?
No, you can take it. And I think what you actually have to do with it is throw it over this edge here. I'm pretty sure. Oh, you didn't.
Oh. What?
Can
the
you
fuck?
can you jump over it with it?
Oh.
That's
Yes.
right here, and then come through here.
Okay. Then I'll go back to the storage room. Not that direction. And so once you put that in, it should tell you another one, I think.
Assembly feeder full.
Oh,
Assembly line resuming.
Oh.
okay. So maybe that one
Check.
only had one.
Oh, probably because it took so long.
No, it's usually not based on time.
It's gonna stop though.
Yeah, because we have to
We're
do
gonna
like,
have
I
to
think we have to
crank
direct it. Right here with this crank, but Gooseberry's going to be here. Yeah, there's the reroute. It's locked. Getting rid of the mines. Oop, watch out. Poison, poison, poison.
Just keep going down. I'm here. If they
It doesn't
come,
seem
I'll
like she's
throw shit
coming.
at
We may
them
have,
with
she may be
gun.
bugged somewhere, or
There we go.
All right.
ooh, trapdoor.
Can I just get pushed? Wait, hold on.
Get pushed by it, or just are we lazy gaming now?
Oh, it just pushes me out of the way. Damn.
All right. Oh, I forgot about the stapled part. Or not the stapled, like fucking bolted on.
Yep.
The incinerator. All right, let's get this open. This one actually has a lock on it. Hi, fake nudes. I'm gonna say today is a totally normal day to be sad.
Do you need health, by the way?
Me or Sai? I can heal Sai.
Sai.
No, I'm fine.
Have your soup.
Okay.
Open the pressure valve.
Alright. So we gotta open them over here. Look at us.
Team players.
And then we gotta follow the pipe. Okay. Okay. That's not it. It's the fake pipe problem again. God damn it, Futterman.
Oh my god, it is. What the fuck?
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find another way in without having to bash down that door. Here's another door over here. Oh, they're both locked. All right, I'll open that one for y'all. Oh, hi.
Uh-oh. Behind you, Dal.
Goodbye.
Okay, I got it.
immediately hid under the table.
Did you get it, man?
I'm on it right now. But remember, it also makes a lot of noise and it typically pulls the aggro. There she is. Ow, bitch.
She's chasing you. I got it.
Yep.
Is this the right-
That's
no.
not a real valve. You don't need to turn that one. Gonna say, we've already got this one. Or it should be. Okay, yeah. Oh. Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. Come through. Come through. Come through. Come through.
You, like,
Crouch.
pushed
Crouch.
me.
Crouch. 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 Oh, there she is.
Mother Gooseberry! You ass.
Okay. Where did...
Oh, we're outside. Okay, cool.
So...
This one's
It goes up, it goes
enabled.
over. Oh god, it was also in there. Never mind, you were right.
Oh, fuck.
It's okay, we got the shortcut door open.
Perfect.
Just let me find the other pipe really quick.
Gooseberry scared the fuck out of me. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay, there it is. It was on the ceiling, I just didn't see it. That's my own bad. I'm sorry, Del, if you found...
It's alright.
Del, you got a friend.
I found it. It's this one. I just trapped myself.
Let's say, just run her a good distance away.
I got you.
But I think once I touch this, she's gonna come back after me. Actually, doesn't
Yep,
seem
keep
like you
following
need
me.
both of them to burn the guy.
No, I'm done.
I
Okay.
was just say he's just
cool.
burning. All right, let's just go back. We'll go back
Sick.
out through the shortcut door.
Uh-oh. Mama. Mama's here. Fuck off. Alright. The shortcut door is already open, so, like, just go out there. And then there.
Perfection.
Yay, shortcut
We
doors.
escape.
Escape. Escape. Fuck pig, what? You're
Oh,
gonna
he was
die! I have
aggro on
stamina!
Fuck you, bitch.
Stay away from me and my children.
Rolling in the 90s.
No!
That was smooth as shit.
You hopped into the same one I was trying to slide into.
Happens all the time. I got the A minus. It's probably because I got punched by Futterman at the end.
Damn.
I was doing so good. I only received damage once and triggered 3 sound traps.
Received damage
0
3 times,
deaths,
triggered 26
no damage.
sound traps.
That's why.
I think it's got really mad because I was also blowing them up.
Yeah.
Cake and ice cream. I want some cake and ice cream. I want some
sounds good.
cookies and
What the
cream
heck?
ice cream with chocolate cake. Maybe a German chocolate cake.
Oh, my headache.
You have a headache already? That means the therapy's
Oh,
working.
no, I had one the entire day.
Same.
That is what happens when you are forced to read transphobic tweets.
Yay! It's fucking inauguration day. 1 day down. 1,200 something to go.
That was pretty good. That was a
That
pretty
was
good
really
therapy.
good. We did really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the engineer wants to talk to me. Tell me your secrets.
Speed boost.
Jammer.
Thank you for your
Ooh.
words of affirmation, lady.
If all they was trying to do here was make fucking psychopaths, that mission got itself accomplished a long time ago. Murkoff's got something else in mind. If you want to get out of here, first thing
that's
is figuring
X-ray.
out what it is you're escaping from. You gotta be watching the edges, paying attention. You be careful with that now. That's better. Maybe that'll give you a fighting chance.
All right.
Take
I'm
care
still
now.
probably only going to use the healing one because it's way too useful.
I used the X-ray.
That's another one that I put a lot of points into, but I also just finished upgrading the barricade one.
Ooh. I've yet to use that one.
I haven't
That
tried
one's
it
good
at all
for-
yet either. Oh, damn.
I feel like that one's good for soloing things.
I need more money. I need to upgrade.
Check your missions. See if you finished any of like the dailies and stuff, because that can give you experience and everything.
Let's see. Tasks. Yes. Yes. Nice. Yes.
Is there no?
There should just be like a giant like claim everything button somewhere.
I wish.
That would be too easy.
Let's go. Oh no, Marin, I'm getting addicted to the game.
You're
No!
welcome.
No! No!
Yes. Let it consume you.
I'm sad I can't get any of the clown outfits now. I don't know why they were fucking Halloween outfits for whatever reason.
I think I might have one.
Not Halloween, sorry, Christmas. They were Christmas. Crimbus.
Oh, never mind.
What missions do I have? Like stupid, dumb ones, whatever. Complete 8 weekly tasks.
There's
Like
these sort of
9
clown ones, but these
trials.
aren't the same ones they had for the Christmas ones. Although I do like that they apparently added button-up shirts.
Do we have a thing we can do where I can smash 15 windows?
Oh, there was a lot of windows in that map. There's windows in every map, so just make sure like you remember that you need to do that. This time around, you can just smack some windows and run.
And the hiding
Your
spot 5
model's
times.
right there. How dare you? 16, 20-ish days until the next. Yeah. Oh wait, 15,
How long
20.
are you planning on streaming trials?
Say that again.
How long are you planning on streaming trials?
Probably until 8, so 2 more hours.
If we're really fast, we can do 2 more trials.
Is that how much time you have?
No, that's how many tasks or how many trials I need to do for one of my tasks.
I mean, we did that one like pretty
28
quick.
minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes is really fast.
That was pretty quick. I think. Maybe.
Let's do
I'm Uncle Sam now.
let's do the newest one. We'll do the newest one, which is the Pleasure the Prosecutor.
Ooh.
This is actually kind of fun. We
Right.
did this one with Zoa last time. This one has like a cityscape to it. Also, I can't believe I'm doing missions with fucking Uncle Sam. My hands are freezing. I wish I could find my electric blanket, but it's been MIA. Maybe I left it with Rumi whenever I moved. I was thinking, I was like, I'm going back to Texas. I'm not going to need an electric blanket. My ass over here forgetting how awesome electric blankets are.
I had one forever ago, and my cat peed on it
Oh,
and
gross.
ruined it.
Oh, that would ruin it, because now when you turned it on, it would be heated cat peeing.
You are a gentle hand.
It's not like you can clean
You're a
it.
crushing fist. You give pleasure when
You
lust
usually
is the
can
lubricant
to a
the
certain
heart.
degree,
this one.
but
Pain when violence is the
like mine was like
fountainhead
a
of control.
blanket. It had its own covering and then had like the wires through it.
Then we will let you
And then it had a cover, a red cover. So you could technically wash it by taking the cover off and washing the cover, but with liquids you can't because it seeps all the way through. Was he just
Yeah.
stroking that shotgun like it was his dick?
Yes.
Yep. He's jerking his peanuts.
Is this what they mean by peanuts this entire time? Is the American way to be jorking your sod off? Although that's an Italian shotgun, so that's kind of funny. You
It's
forget
the
the winter freeze
American
already? The winter
experience.
freeze was the Christmas thing I was talking about. That's a lot!
What, you mean you don't jerk your peanuts?
You forgot the winter freeze already, and I lived here during the winter freeze, and I know what you're talking about. But even then, I was like, the house will be cold, warm enough, but my room is specifically cold as shit in this house compared to every other room.
Time to break every window.
Smash, smash,
Smash,
smash.
smash.
Welcome to the subway. Legs are gone. Oh, also, okay. I was about to say, watch out for lasers. Oh, bitch. Fuck you.
Smacked you and then sat back down.
Yeah, this is what they fucking do. Give me that bottle. You slut.
Damn.
That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of fucking a dude punches me and I turn around and punch the guy next to him. VIP tickets only. Oh, hi, mine. Did you get the ticket already?
Nope.
Ran straight over that
I
mine.
fucking. Yep.
All right, anything in the box? Nothing in the box. Another mine. Easily thing. Currently inaccessible. Okay, so it's not there. There's also somebody in that barrel. So that probably means we need to go back here. Anybody find a bottle or anything? Because I don't trust that that mine isn't gonna explode on me.
I blew it up.
You blew it up already? No, over here.
Oh no, sorry.
Okay, I blew up.
I did that to myself. I knew she was there. I just didn't realize I was close enough to her for that. God, we need to kick her ass harder whenever she jumps on us. Oh, there's a brick. That's perfect.
Damn it. I ran into the tripwire.
All right, give me my brick back.
I am not getting an A+ in this.
No.
Okay, it's at 30%.
I have started the percent charge.
Here too. Oh, it stopped.
Yeah, it does the pause and you have to pull the lever again, remember?
Yeah. Wish.
Oh, I found it.
Ooh, poster.
You dumb fuck.
Goodbye. You're just watching him chase you in a circle. I just see you flash by.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm hiding under the table. Don't worry. Don't mind me.
It's gonna
so
stop
weird.
any second. Oh, it's over here. Boop. Oh no!
Oh shit! I took my hand off the keyboard.
Yeah, let's go! I'm not getting an A+ or an A at all. But whatever. It's so funny.
I'm just watching
This
you
one.
guys go around in a circle as I'm hiding under a table.
Whoops.
I'm gonna pee myself. This is too funny.
Grab this shit and get the fuck out.
Guys, I did so much. I got a ticket.
Open the door. He's still after me. I'm fucking dying. This guy has a grudge.
You really just like pissed him off.
Holy shit.
I'm standing here. He wants you, not me.
I pissed off the AI.
Hi. Oh, look, she's right there, Del.
After me.
No way.
You just got here as soon as I finished it, you fucking dork. Hey, buddy. Wait, you didn't see me? That's hilarious.
Owie. We're about
Anyway,
to have
bye.
a problem.
Oh, you brought her with you. Cool.
There's another one. I'm like,
Immediately went for side.
Okay.
can you fuck up? Where are you
Stop here.
after me?
Gas can. Jerry can, anyone?
Moo.
Okay. The button time. Look at that dude down there.
Look at this dude.
I was supposed to. Schmink. Alright, we got 4 minutes till an ad break. Somebody take the revive needle?
Yeah, I did. You want it?
No, I'm just wondering. Trying to entertain your guest.
You getting in the way of my friend's good time?
Are you winning? Yeah, we're winning.
God.
Marlo Para!
I can aim better than that. I'm pretty bad at aiming.
Yum. Hi, box. Nice. Give me that. Poster. Disassemble the prostitutes, apparently. Kinky mannequins. Now to get the slaughter mannequins.
The sadist mannequin.
And the friends I got, I take care of. You stay the fuck away from the DA.
Huh.
If you see you.
Alright.
I know no wanna.
I didn't wanna.
Oh, right. Alright, I'll
Yeah.
take a tracker. Watch out for that bomb.
So we need I key. Oh,
He's
fuck.
right here.
As I walk
He's right here in front of me.
into it.
He's right here in front of me, guys. It looks like he only has one bulb. There it is. Hey, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
Watch out for the bomb as I run right. Oopsies.
Watch out.
Yeah, if y'all have throwables and anything, you can get rid of those.
Sandy, I do not. I do not wait.
Alright, I'm gonna
Wait,
go
I
wait.
do. I have my stun thing.
There's a large battery here if somebody needs it.
I should be good.
I'm fine.
Oh, I have a bottle.
Sai, your best friend's back.
Fuck it. Oh no, that's
How
not
did that
him.
miss?
He's leaving guy. House is interrupted.
Alright, so... Pardon me. Okay, I found it.
Oh my god.
Listen, it's all fun and games until the lights suddenly turn on.
I'm gonna start seeing the Shadow Man here in a minute.
Oh, are you seeing spookies?
Yep.
Here, come here.
Ah, thank you.
Okay, it's not this one. It's not this one, so it's
You
in that room with y'all
bitch.
somewhere.
I found it.
My eyes! My eyes! Brick! Listen, there's no weapon more reliable in this game than a brick.
Oh, hey, Sai, there's a window over here you can break.
Oh shit, let's go.
Being a breakable window.
Yeah!
I wonder if there's a banana
Oh,
asset that you
yeah.
could make a throw banana fucking emote with. Who put barbed wire under the bed? Alright, this one's done.
I got her. Ow! Oh shit! Somebody needs to open the. No!
No, the door's over here. What
Casually
are
walk
you
in.
doing?
Being chased. What are you doing?
Nothing, just hanging out.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Sick. Like, I love that for you. That's so awesome and sexy and shit. I'm gonna run now.
Yeah, like that you just kind of start walking faster. All right, now we got to do the other 3.
Track it down faster! Hold it harder!
I'm trying. Careful, slow down. He's right here. He's right near here. He's in here. He just went upstairs.
Where are you, little
He's
friend?
upstairs.
I don't want to scare you off. I just want to blow your head off. He's right here, right?
Watch out. He's probably gonna run at us.
Yep.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, what? Ah, what?
I was gonna say,
Stop
you were between
screaming at
him and the fucking
me.
wall. Oh, he's coming out over here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I see him. Oh, he saw me. Hold on, he's going back in. Just wait and listen for the sirens. Oh, hey, Del.
Oh my god.
Del, come here.
I'm coming.
Delapara.
Who would have thought
Okay, no, he's-
giving psychos guns was a good idea?
Somewhere closer this way. Diamond key.
Man, I'm just getting the works.
Oh, hi, Lupara.
Ah, fuck.
Del, you have the other detonator, right?
Yeah.
Sick. God, I need healing. Oh, nice.
Ow, motherfucker. What the hell was that? Oh, I probably walked into a mine. Oh my god, the lady's in the fucking trunk. All right, Del, watch out for the back of the
Shit.
car because the sneaky lady's inside of it. Okay, yeah, so there's a guy this way. Oh,
I
No,
will
he's
try to
gone.
make my way over to you. Watch out.
Piece of shit! I'm gonna fuck you! I'm gonna kill you! And I'm gonna drink you!
What are these shots?
ah, shit, that's fine. I don't know for sure, but I think he's hit scan.
Oh my.
Sai, come this way. Come towards me. There's gonna be a co-op door here that you're gonna have to get. So just hit this co-op door with me. Now sprint, bitch! Oh, there's the Molotov. Okay, I think he's back in the radio store. No, he's
think
not
so,
in here.
too.
Somewhere else. Is he at the laundry?
Uh-oh.
Watch out for Poison Cloud.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you guys need batteries, let me know. I've been hoarding all the large batteries and I didn't know.
No, I have one. I grabbed one early. Okay, he's here, Sai. You behind me? Good.
Yep.
You guys have a fire guy behind you.
Yup.
I think he's in that room. Watch out for the trap, though. Go slow. You gotta go in. Go inside. Go in.
I'm going.
The Molotov is also making his way here.
Yeah.
I see him.
Getting him.
come here, please.
Getting him. Oh. Yes, one more bulb.
All right, now hoof it. Hoof it.
Oh, hey.
Okay. Don't like that sound. How you doing, Del?
Prank him, John.
Okay, so he is this way. Close, getting close.
Got him, got him, got him. Wait.
Nice. All right. What key is it?
Sick.
Diamond key. So you can go through here. We opened up the shortcut. So now we need to figure out where the diamond key goes. I don't remember if it was. Y'all didn't pick up the key!
What? Damn!
Give me a second. I'm getting chased.
Just run him away. Just run him away then.
Don't be afraid.
Give me the key. Oh my god. Trying to pick up the key, but it's like glitching out.
I found one guy with bulbs.
Okay. Whew. Is that the diamond key?
Yeah.
Okay.
Enter a hiding spot 5
All right.
times.
All right, Belle. You're on this. You stay here. I'm gonna go look. Me and Sai are gonna go look for the next guy.
Sounds good.
Also, remember, darkness is your best friend.
True.
Okay, 2 dots.
I'm hiding in a
Every
locker.
morning in the dark. Is it in here?
Nah. Okay, yeah, I think he is in here. I'm only at 4. Oh. Okay. Oh. What the hell? You went from 5 to 0.
What?
Oh, no. Wait, what the hell?
What? Is he between floors?
No, I think he's lower. I think he's lower. I think he's actually back here. Yep, there he is. He's in the
Ouch.
corner. See him?
Yeah.
Pop his head, and then we're gonna run out the door. All right, let's go.
Keep your titties away from
Oh,
me.
who saw me?
Oh.
Oh, it's the para.
He's after you. He's after you.
Yep. I'm sure you did, little man. Eat shit. Eat shit. Meow. How's it going, Del?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Try not to die.
Sick.
The
Awesome.
usual.
Okay, he lost me. Oh, I just realized how many batteries I have. Jesus.
That's what I'm saying.
Coming. Alright. Gummies or caramelized mode. What? Carrie, those aren't comparative. Caramelized onions or mushrooms. Is it mushrooms? Yak. Okay.
Are we?
Yeah, let's break this door down just because we can.
Okay. Woo!
Okay. So shortcut's open there. Oh, hi, Big Mama. Okay, I'm gonna go back to looking for this other guy. Wait. Where'd my... What the fuck?
Oh, Oh shit, there's 2 people.
I lost my tracker at
Oh.
some point.
Oh. Wait.
Oh, here's the other one. I guess I can grab it. Oh, fuck, that's the Para. He's right next to the thing.
I had a system here. A delicate balance.
A delicate balance.
Crown key.
Oh, you dumb fucking bitch. Oh my god.
Oh shit. No!
Whew. Okay.
Oh my god.
Donuts.
Both the flame fucker and the Paras at me.
Damn, can't get into the pub. Oh. Wait, what was
Oh no, the flame fucker guy is right in front of where I need to be. Limau.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Hi, Del. Take that all the way back to the theater.
Hi.
You don't need to be running around with it.
think
You're
I'm
going on the
going
wrong
the right way.
level. That takes you up to the
Oh.
upper level. I wonder what this other little indicator is on my tracker, because when I'm on... Maybe it's floor? Maybe this game actually does track floor?
It might.
I'm pretty sure it does.
But yeah, I think it's on the... I think he's in the other section. Fuck you, Lupara! Did he just call me sweetness? He's right there. Watch out. He'll shoot you. Okay, let's go to this dark section.
Okay,
Okay.
he's coming.
Oh, hi, buddy.
Fuck.
I can hear him rustling around over there.
Ow, motherfucker. Brick.
I can't believe what you're
He's right here in front of me. I can't ping
The
him to
guy?
give y'all a tracking thing, which really sucks. I think I need to get a new mouse soon. Oh, shit.
I'm on my way.
Somebody's coming out of this room. Okay, it's a gas guy. So you just take it slow. He can't see us here.
You fucks are real confused. You coward. Fucking rat anyway.
I was gonna say, when you're in the dark, they can't see shit unless they have night vision or you have a special modifier.
The erotic ambiance.
Did they just attack each other?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
because apparently in lore, the gas guys are not on the same side as Murkoff. They're a separate faction that apparently created the psychotics that they spray by themselves.
Oh. Okay.
Call me infinite.
They like to give you a good time.
All you whores. You look cozy.
Well,
Please don't hit me, bud.
There's so many landmines.
where are you, little bubble boy?
I
just
don't
wanna
think there's
pop your-
one in this section. Yeah, I don't think there is one in this section.
I don't
There's a
either.
window over here. All right. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be one in this section, so we're gonna go down here, Sai.
Okay.
Here's another breakable window for you.
Sick.
All right. So we're back in the front here.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like there's one here. So we're gonna go to the garage on this other side. Ah, shit.
I've got the
Hey,
other
window,
tracker.
window,
I'm
side,
trying to
side,
see if
window,
I
window,
can-
window, go.
Oh, he's right here. Wait, he has 3 bulbs.
Yeah, this is one that we hadn't gotten to yet. And so watch out, he's gonna run at you.
No, wait. That was the guy. Wasn't it? No. Fuck you.
All right, just give him a second.
Oh!
I found
Oh,
another
tough.
one. He's over here. I've
You have
got
the
him.
detonator.
Yep.
He's somewhere back this way. Oh, went down.
Boink.
Went from 3 to...
I hear him.
Del, do you need healing?
Yeah, if you have it.
Run.
He's right in front of me. Hold on.
Nice. Grab that key and we can figure out... Oh, it's Crown. Okay, that's gonna be down there. It's gonna be the Irish pub.
Sick. Oh no.
Bitch. Load it again. Bitch. Ow. I'm on fire. He's leaving. He doesn't have any more. So we can go back down and get the pub open.
Perfect. I'm picking up that brick.
I'm hoping all my throwables will offset all the damage I've taken
It's right
around.
here. It's right here to your left, Al.
Oh, Del.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
That's another
Oh,
brick.
you gotta be shitting me.
No, wait. Open the door.
I'm blind,
Open
I'm
the door,
blind, I'm
Del.
blind, I'm blind. Come back! So many words.
Watch out, mine right in front of you.
That's a lot of words.
Watch out,
Too
there's about to be
bad
gas
I
out of that
ain't reading
toolbox.
them.
That's a lot of words. Sorry,
Bad, I'm not
reading
reading
them.
them. All right, hold on. Somebody's upstairs, but I'm opening one of the shortcut doors. Oh. Lupar just shoot at me? It sounded like his shotgun. Gonna say, is there a giant in the pub?
Yes.
Okay, so it does seem like it's the same ones almost every time. It's kind of interesting.
At least there's another bottle.
All right.
Hold on, is this the garage? Yeah, it is the garage. Can I throw this brick at that? I knew it. She is still in there. Bitch.
I'm hiding in an ice freezer right now.
Hey, listen, there's worse places to hide. Hello? It's always interesting the sounds that you hear in this game when you play it like really slow.
Yeah.
Instead of
Got it.
speed running it.
Yeah, if you just like go
Uh-oh.
really slow through the map and you just listen to everything, they did so much set dressing for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, there's Laura here.
It's actually really nice.
Come outside.
Ooh,
Damn it.
Clyde Perry
It's
lectures.
coming upstairs.
That's fine.
My goddamn knees! I wish I had the explosives, because I'm tracking the other guy.
That's some
I think
bullshit.
he's back in the clothing store. Yeah, I'm almost certain he is.
94.
One of you that has the detonator, can you come follow me?
Soon.
I think I'm going the wrong direction.
On my way. On my way.
Yeah, I'm going the wrong direction. He's not this way, he's the other way. He's this way. Wait, is he not?
No.
I had 3. Could he be upstairs?
Uh-oh.
He could be He's upstairs.
Take it slow. Well, no, it just went back down. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. But... Okay, he's right there. He's in the corner. Straight ahead of me. Okay, that was his last one. Watch for that mine. You walk towards the mine. Alright. That was the moon key. I think that's the garage down, like, basically
I
right in
think
front of these
so.
stairs. I hear the para. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
It's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just straight ahead. Oh, there he is. Yep, he saw that.
Putting the second mannequin on.
What the fuck? That's just.
He's on me. I'm gonna
Damn
take
it.
him away. I'm gonna take him away. Come on, Lupara.
I'm putting the key in.
Yes, boy.
You me.
Drop a-
Alright, can somebody open this door on this side for me?
I am on my way.
Dell, I'm right next to you. We can thank you. Let's say I hear your friend. Dell's got a
Huge
friend in
cat.
there.
I'm
He's
in.
not a friend in me, that is for sure.
Gotcha. Alright, here's the first. You're gonna what? You're gonna what?
What you
it.
gonna do,
Oh,
bitch?
there's the light. Although I think this person's blind. 'Cause it looks like she has metal over her eyes.
I'm just blind. I keep running over the stupid landmines.
Chainsaw. What is in that guy's mouth? Oh, he doesn't have a mouth.
Alright.
Alright, does anybody need a battery? There's an extra battery on the shelf here.
She is, in fact, not blind.
I'm good on batteries.
Okay, what the hell was that cute as shit sound?
Uh-oh.
Did you already pull it? Okay.
No, it's downstairs.
Oh, I thought I heard it. She's coming up the
Oh,
stairs.
fuck. I don't know how the fuck I just juked her.
Someone else is coming here, I think.
No way you saw me, you
What does a
fucking
motor
stupid
oil
bitch.
can look like that? I don't recognize it. It's just the new one, Pinky. This is the Pleasure, the prosecutor, I think. That's what it's called.
Yes.
That's not real Psy. There's a fake Psy here.
Oh.
Imposter. When the
Imposter.
imposter is us.
Alright, she's leaving. Ah, yes, there's the real Psy. I recognize that gamer stank anywhere.
Yoink! Help.
Alright, and then we can just go...
I got the mannequin. Help! Because they're after me.
How you doing?
I am literally just running for my life.
Yep, 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 yep.
You got it.
Uh-oh. No.
I don't have a brick. Gimme. Yeah.
I like how I can hear all I can hear in the distance is a loud bang of a shotgun.
Can you come open side? Where'd you go?
I'm being chased by all the
All the
demons
spooky
and
shit?
shit.
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, thank you.
Can you open this gate? I think there's the entrance. Yeah, this is the newest one. We have like a symbol. We'll call
I
it
really
the
like this map.
staff. We have to swap out some kinky mannequins for some
More
sadistic
kinky
mannequins.
mannequins.
Oh, he's actually coming
Okay,
in.
so-
Oh shit. It's gonna be Luparo. Oh no, it's Molotov? Really?
Too late. Too
Really?
late, motherfucker.
Oh my god, did we now have to play the fucking Simon Says game? With an enemy inside? I hate that. Oh no, it looks like he just left. Can we close this door? Okay. Okay. Red? Okay, so hold on. Red. Yellow.
Yellow.
Red, yellow. Blue.
Blue.
Yellow.
Red.
Blue, yellow, red. Okay.
Yellow.
Blue.
Blue.
Red.
Red. Green.
Yellow, blue, red, green. Red.
I love the part where the hand is like
Gets
is on
stuck
the drill.
Red. Green.
Green.
Red,
Red.
green, red. Yellow.
Yellow.
Blue.
Red.
Green.
Red.
Red.
Yellow, blue.
Yellow.
The last one is always 5, and it's always the last one to go is always the scythe.
Yes.
All right, do we get to leave? And we can go this way. Later, losers.
Marin!
Yum, yum, yum.
Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox.
There's a giant.
Oh shit.
When I...
No, I
right,
saw you.
Crouch and
you
keep it quiet.
fucking little shit.
Okay, go, 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 go. Let me in, let me in, let me in.
I think I got a B.
I probably got a B too. I took a lot of hits. A minus.
B minus.
That's my second A minus in a
That
row.
was the group
Wow.
grade. Oh wait, look at that! I called that B. I'm a genius.
That was I took a lot of
Okay.
damage from the shotgun.
He's pretty hard because he's also the only, well, besides Molotov now, he's the only ranged character. Oh god, why do I have
He's
so
a
many
real
fucking
pain in the
Steam things
ass.
open? Alright.
I activated 95 traps.
That number gets ridiculous.
How the hell did I get this C and not you?
The thing that sucks with the sound traps, though, is it counts every beep as one activation.
Oh. That's fucking stupid.
So, like, it's also like with Mother Gooseberries. So, you know the ducks that, like, kind of
Yeah.
puff up and then explode? Each tick of that counts as one.
What?
Yep.
So much.
I made it out of one of these games once with like 200 trap activations, I think it was.
Doom shotting. Amazing.
What do you need?
I don't know. What do you have to tell me?
Progress you're making.
I'm making such good progress. I'm going to be the perfect sleeper agent.
For all the hard work you're doing, you're going to be
She called me a good boy.
American century.
The French Nurse, a story about a forbidden love.
All things you'll bring to the world.
What kind of forbidden love is there between a nurse and a doctor? My grandparents were a nurse and a doctor.
I'm guessing you're not supposed to do it or whatever.
Oh god, the engineer has something for me too. Why are you standing around like that? I don't understand the outfits that they like let us wear that they give away like in the canon.
Sometimes I smooth out the scraps.
Okay, but that was gonna be my last game. I need to shower.
Go on gamer yourself. Thank you for playing.
Thank you for having me.
1956.
Thanks for
It was August
playing.
1958. I got
Thank you for hanging out.
Of course. Thank
Chat,
you.
remember to give subs. Be
What are you
epic.
doing your next thingamajig?
I got a fiance
I don't know.
out there,
Next week somewhere.
back in Jersey.
Wait, next week?
Got a brother in Ohio.
Yeah.
You're off the
I'm
rest of the
taking this
week?
week off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think I just walked out.
Well, enjoy your week off.
Okay.
Hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Anyway, chat, you gotta go remember to do the most important thing, and that's go follow and watch Ty's YouTube channel so that she can get that sweet, sweet YouTube partner. And then YouTube has
Thank
to
you,
pay
boss.
her to make content.
Thank you, boss.
Of course, boss.
Whatever you say, boss. Okay,
Whatever you
goodbye,
say.
boss.
Head down.
I've got donuts.
Oh, did
don't
you
have
get the
donuts in my
like the
room.
items that you can put in your room? Donuts?
Yeah. Donuts in my
Gotcha.
room.
All right. Hold on. The shadow lady wants to talk to me.
Oh, good.
There's a lady in my head, and she calls me Stud Muffin. The shadowy dame. She used to have a name. Oh no, okay, it's
Did
just
she?
to tell me. Used health bottles will become throwable items. Wait, that's fucking cool. Except I have to give up slippers to have it, so it's trash.
Yeah, I can't give up my slippers.
Oh, I forgot I took the invisible one. I do like, that's why I haven't been found when I'm in hiding spots. I like that enemies can't find you in a hiding spot, even if you peek. I should have been abusing that way more. All right. And let me go talk to the engineer again, because I'm putting tickets in to just like get as much bonus experience and stuff as I can from it.
Aren't you?
Hi, Sylvie. All right.
Weren't you just
Bonus ducks.
blur together here, don't they? Shouldn't
Jammer.
anything I can do to help.
Oh. Jammer automatically activates for self-revive, can also be used to revive a dead teammate from a distance. Ooh.
That's actually kind of nuts. Disables electronic devices, unlock deadlocked containers and doors.
Cooldown performs at a faster pace, faster speed, long distance, turns traps against enemies. Ooh. Corrupt enemies causing interruptions in their normal behavior. Wait, this may be really fucking good. I wonder what the corrupt enemies. Do you think it means like they go away from you or that they like attack each other? I wonder.
I think they
Careful.
attack each other.
Oh, good lord. Wait, they haven't put a stand here for the,
It's
Oh,
to
here
the
it is.
left.
Huh. Interesting. Disables traps
think I'll
electronic
have-
devices from a distance. I wonder if it permanently disables traps or if it's temporary.
I think it's temporary. I guess we'll find out. I have it equipped.
You gonna test it out on this one?
Yep. I think so.
Oh, the experience.
Excuse me.
Oh, then I
I'm
just
gonna
leveled up
use the
again.
bathroom really quick.
Aye, aye.
Yeah? Hey. You let me know how that works for you.
Okay.
Catch
It'd be,
you later.
it'd be dumb, but I'm not gonna use it until I have it like maxed out. Chat, are you doing okay? What the fuck are you wearing? I cannot understand. There has to be like reasons behind the outfits that people are wearing, but like, why do they let us wear them? They talk about like degeneracy and stuff being bad throughout a lot of the missions, but then why is somebody wearing a latex suit and stockings? I don't get it. Okay, there we go. I always got to get rid of all the exclamation marks because I'm easily distracted. Oh, hi.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. Wait,
Thank
what are
you.
your goggles? I like those goggles.
Murkoff wants you to be free.
All right,
Wonder.
we'll probably tone it down a little bit, especially because you're testing something out.
Okay.
So we'll do Vindicate the Guilty, because that's actually a random one that I don't have any score on at the introductory level.
Ooh. Okay.
I still think it's funny to this day that they give you slippers as like the first tool thing that you unlock, and I have not met a person in my life that doesn't just always use slippers.
I couldn't switch it out. I always like there's no better thing to use.
It's so good. Just being like, just ignoring the glass is so good.
Not having to worry about like running over a glass and making noise or like crouching over it is the best. It's the best thing in the game.
My hands are freezing.
You are justice. You are loyal.
I
We do not
am?
allow the tyranny of facts and impartial reason to condemn the people who protect and guide you.
I think this
Past
is.
is changeable. The future is set.
Oh, that's what this one is. This is where we have to find
judge, and
the
we will let you out.
evidence.
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay, this one's
This is
not
the
too
coil
bad.
map. This is where the trackers and stuff first show up.
Yep.
It's okay though, it'll probably be pretty easy. It'll probably be one of everything.
Which actually, I wonder if I can use the jammer on this guy.
On the head guy?
Yeah, I wonder if I can use the jammer on the tracker guy.
I don't think so.
Is it-
That would just make a lot of sense.
Yeah, true. It'd be pretty broken, to be honest.
Okay. I pulled the plug like a fucking lawnmower cable? God damn it, I forgot that fucking joke.
Torturing and outraging so many people is patently absurd.
Outraging people is
Innocent American, making valuable scientific advancements. And all I ask is the faith and liberty that is my birthright.
We trust that even if the judge insists on perpetrating this perverse obsession with evidence and facts, higher powers will intervene
Rick.
to assure my client's innocence. Thank you.
wait, what? This man just admitted in this fucking, I never realized that. He just admitted that, like, he goes, higher powers will guarantee my my client's innocence.
We are that higher power.
It's like this weird I mean, that's the thing that they're trying to like instill in us too, is that like we're basically a divine force for good.
Even though we're not.
Yeah, but that's like the propaganda thing. Oh, whoops. Clicked the wrong button. I wanted to open both doors. Hello. More bricks.
I've already got 2.
Sir, how much have you vomited? What are you eating? And then, of course, most important thing, pouch. Ah, yes, fantastic. Coil!
Goddamn lawyers are not taking this indictment away from me.
Ah, fuck. Wait, there wasn't an indicator on that. Yo.
You're welcome. Let's see.
Oh, there was. It was up in the top left. That's my bad.
Oh, so right here.
Oh my god. Oh, it does pop it. Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, it does disable it for the whole time.
Ooh, I'll take that.
Perfection.
Through the library. Go ahead and open that.
Propaganda.
Propaganda. You were not immune to propaganda.
Yeah, what are we? Not
Jesus.
immune.
Oh my god, no.
Or propaganda. Propaganda das Luces.
Learn something tonight.
Sure, buddy.
Think you better just leave it.
I'll say I couldn't see it, but I'm pretty sure there's a poison thing in there. Hi, Oranges. How are you doing? I hear you there, buddy. You find the door?
I made it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Coming. Da-da-da-dun.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court,
Do you think they had to record the voices for these mannequins?
torture and mutilation of 4 men and women.
That is a good question.
To which I say, where is your evidence of these heinous crimes? If there's no evidence, there is no crime.
I throw myself at the mercy of the court.
Oh. Okay.
I throw myself at the mercy of the court. 1
4, 5. 1, 4, 5.
7. 1
Okay.
4 5 7.
Head time. And then I'm gonna guess we'll probably only have to get like 1 head and 1 acid.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Well, aside from the tutorial. This is the tutorial head, and then we have to go up over here and get the tutorial acid. Oh, hold on a second.
Wait, can I? Oh, never mind.
Oh, were you gonna test it? Propaganda. Oh, I was trying to grab that at
Yeah.
the same time.
No, that works.
God, this fucking sink. Ugh. Hate it. Hate it. I hate it. Gross. Gross. Disgusting. I'm doing pretty
It's just
good.
an acid
We're doing
sink.
we're doing therapy. Totally normal therapy.
Yes, chat. This
And
therapy
people totally
is
leave metal
what is
buckets of
needed.
nitric acid lying around. Okay. Looks like the acid's upstairs.
Oh, I'm dumb. I forgot we have to get the rest of it. Oopsie
Yeah, that was just the
poopsie.
tutorial one, so there's 1 more of each. Alright, I'll go for evidence if you want to go for acid.
All right.
Also, hold on a second. I'm going to go ahead and get this trap undone and take the battery for it.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, hi, Quail.
So I can blow up traps. Perfect.
Hell yeah. And I guess, what level is yours right now? Did you upgrade it? An extra spicy drink? Ooh, you got
Mine
yourself a
is
drinky
leveled-
drink? Don't drink
Mine
the
is leveled
acid.
up to the 3rd one, I think.
Okay, I just saw Coil. Yeah, Coil's usually in the evidence section. I did just find the shortcut door though, so that's gonna be useful.
Oh, bucket of acid, where art thou?
Look out for the
Romeo,
signs because
oh,
they usually
Romeo.
point you pretty close to the area. Oh god, my eyes. Oh, I see it. Button. 0. 0's the first one. Chat, help me, I'm blind. 0, 4. 04 something 1 0491. I hear you, Coil. Okay. You haven't found the acid yet,
Found
right?
it.
You found it?
Yep, I've got it.
Cool. I'm about to be
boy.
back in the courtyard. Oh, I thought that was Coil right there for a second. It's not. I'm also very concerned by how much blood is on this fountain. All right. I've got the head in. We just need the acid.
Oh my way.
Old my way. Old my tummy hurt. I ate too much pizza. Oh no. Can't believe Carrie is having tummy troubles. Well, with the amount of food Carrie eats, no wait, that makes a lot of sense. All right, did you bring the drinky drink?
Yep.
Cool. I'm glad you brought the punch for the party.
Try not to spill it on myself.
Yeah, if you run too fast, you spill it. Oh, it just goes into the same spot? All right, let's go back.
Please return to the courtroom for the presentation of evidence.
Fuck you, Coil.
What evidence?
What evidence?
I don't see shit. Your Honor, you weren't there.
Your Honor, the officer that arrested my client is a racist, a homophobe, but also probably a closet case.
Pretty song to say.
Your Honor, take my brick.
I want to do the boom boom this time. Yeah. My turn to do boom boom. I'm just sick. Carrie's falling apart at the seams. This little contraption looks like it has a very satisfying click to it. Because it's like a spring trigger. Just got a 5K on Moon Knight? Wait. Oh, kill. Okay, 5K in terms of like a pentakill. I gotcha. I gotcha.
That explosion brings much joy.
Sold my 6. Rip. Rip, buddy. Alright.
Alright.
Again, I never realized too for the set dressing for this that they actually have like an open cell, like they escaped. Until the time before this time, I noticed it. Alright. Witnesses are in the library, it looks like.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, he's in the library. Oh, man. He's on the other side of this wall.
Here, we'll go this way. We're gonna hoof it as soon as this pops.
Okay.
Usually they stay on the same floor. I just heard the door open.
Yep. He's in front of us somewhere.
It's not in here.
No.
God, that's the Heidi lady.
He's right here.
Hoof it. Hold on, come look at this. Come look at the Heidi lady real quick. She's right here. Right here.
Oh, what the fuck? Alright.
I need to read more in the
He's
lure of
this
these
way.
X-Pops, because all of them have stories behind them.
He's upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Cause I had two when I was in that corner.
Usually they don't swap floors. Maybe that's only when. Oh, there are two witnesses.
Oh wait, I'm. Nope.
Fuck,
Yep,
we
it
do
is
have two
down.
witnesses. Yeah. So there's going to be one upstairs and one downstairs. Oh, fuck you, bitch.
Let's see. Something else just spawned.
Oh,
Oh, yep.
my thing just lit up for a second. Hello. God, that is so noisy. I can see my breath in my own room. Oh, God. Give me that.
Nope. I had
No,
3.
he's in the library, I'm pretty
over
sure.
here. Yeah. I had 3 over here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in this room.
All right, park it real quick.
I think he's in that room.
I'm gonna open it real slow. I don't hear him.
Oh, nope. I was wrong. It is this door that's open already.
Okay. That's fine. We're just sneaking.
I can hear you.
Oh, I thought that was another propaganda poster.
Good night.
Okay. He dropped a fucking stick. Or not a stick. He dropped a lockpick set.
All right.
Then now we can probably just go upstairs from here.
Yep.
But this is the section where there's usually a person with a machete. Hold on. How close are we? Okay. Oh. She's in that closet.
It was stronger over here to the right.
Okay. Look, you little weirdo. Could he be in here? Is that supposed to be Nixon? I swear that's supposed to be Nixon.
Found him.
Oh, you found him? Okay, come in.
Yeah.
You go through this trapdoor. Got him.
Perfect.
You say you gotta get away from him.
Damn it. I was trying to hit him with the glass, try and stop him, but...
Take some floor time, Carrie. Take some floor time. All right.
Heard him over here.
I wonder if that headpiece is actually doing anything with like, I gotta punch it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He's in here.
Over there.
Oh my God, I can't get him. Run! Just close the door on him.
Yep.
Oh, he just glitched through the door.
Get him!
Oh, I didn't.
No!
I fat fingered, squeezed my mouse and hit 1 and it swapped.
Sorry.
Oh, I just heard it. Okay. Is he
I
back?
wonder where he's. Oh, he's right in front of me. He just breached through right in front of me.
I see him.
Based. Goodbye, sir.
Good luck, buddy. Let's see if he dropped anything. No, he didn't. I think that lockpick was just coincidence.
I think so as well.
I say it's kind of horrifying that the ones on the other map, when they go pop, they have, oh, what was it? They have keys inside of them.
Yeah. Keys inside their body.
Very, what is it? Saw coded. Smash.
It's like yeah, no, you gotta cut your arm off.
All right, this one's gonna be the. We gotta go do the generator things while Coil chases us.
Yep.
Guilty! You're all fucking guilty! You're all
Alright, listen here, Mr. Electro guy. Oh wait.
We don't spin these yet. We gotta go turn them on. Back here. If you follow the left wire, I'll get the right one.
Yep.
But remember, Coil's gonna be in here. All right, I got this one.
And this one's far away.
Hey, that one usually loops around through like the fence and stuff.
Got it.
All right, now this is gonna be the same thing. Do you remember the what was it? The first one you have with Coil, where you have to electrocute
Yeah.
the guy. It's gonna be basically
yep.
the same thing. So every time you grab the lever, he's gonna come running.
He's gonna come for us.
Don't you fucking dare!
Just listen to him right now. Wait, did that say free Avellanos? Also, there's a floating medicine bottle there. Do you see that?
Yeah, that was where I threw the brick.
Coil's not coming. Oh, there he is.
I'm gonna keep going.
Take him for a walk. Take him for a walk.
Follow me, bitch.
Let me know when he's coming back.
I threw a
Oh,
brick
okay,
at
we
him.
got her. We got her. We're good to go.
Perfect.
Later, fuckers. Oh shit, my fucking
Didn't
goggles got
realize-
out of sync. I still don't understand how that keeps happening.
I didn't realize that when we're doing that, the character like starts yelling for
Yeah,
Coil
she's yelling
to
for
save
Coil to
them.
help her. I think it's because she's the judge from Coil's district, I'm guessing. Fuck you, Coil.
Perchance.
Bye, Coil. Come on, get in there. Get in there. Go on. Fuck
You ain't shit, bitch. I turned around for him to go stab into my pod. Alright.
Hey,
Not
just
too
flat eggs. That's
shabby.
fine. Complete 3 trials without being incapacitated. Nice. Beware,
Triggered 2.
absence. Receive damage once. Caught door traps once. Sound traps 7.
I triggered 2 sound traps, received 2 damage.
Alright. Laying down sounds nice. Floor time. Floor time is almost always needed. Other direction. When playing co-op, you can only be revived by a teammate. Except with the jammer, because apparently it lets you revive people from a distance.
Much progress. Can you feel it?
That, yeah, no, that's another thing.
Changing.
I get to upgrade it more though.
It's kind of crazy. It seems really strong. If you were playing like somebody who's like brand spanking new and is probably going to keep going down.
I see the jammer being a really good thing for like for team play, especially on harder levels.
Yeah.
Might have its uses solo, but
Oh. Oh, it's the judge
Improved
one.
Jammer.
Okay. Oh, wait, what's your name? One who craves souls. Dressed like this. You know what? Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. God, some of these outfits, man. Some of these outfits. All right, but I think that's
almost
gonna be it for me.
re-aging.
I can only do so much of Outlast all at once.
That's fine.
But I do love this game. I think it has really cool lore, and I look forward to what they do every time. And I'm just trying to get a little bit more play in with it, which is why I think I've played it. Did we do last Monday, guys? I'm talking to chat. Was it last Monday or was it the Monday before? I forget which. Was when I did. I don't think it was last Monday because I think I had to change the thing for it earlier. Oops. But this is going to be a little bit of a short stream, and I feel... Oh, no, the ad break already started. Fuck.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Ah, damn
Has
it.
to wait.
Damn it. Oh, no.
No iPad either. What will chat ever do?
Yeah, chat's been a little quiet today. That's been a little quiet today. It's okay. It's Monday. It's been kind of a shit show day. Probably about as shit show day as it can get.
That's typical Mondays though.
You must pray. I haven't forgotten it either. I promise you I have not forgotten. I promise you I have not forgotten. All right, chat. We're going to go read Izzy. Izzy's doing art. She's doing her fundraiser day to raise money for her hospital stay while she has a surgery coming up.
Oh.
I'm sorry for the people that are listening. Wait. Oh, okay. That's just the warning telling me that Izzy has follower, subscriber only chats. Okay, that makes sense. It's probably follower only because it's not subscriber only. It would tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Toodles. I'll see you guys tomorrow, noon CST. Del, are you still? I forget. You've been streaming, or you? Not yet. I forget.
I just stream whenever I feel like it.
You got it. Sorry for the short stream, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. We're gonna yap about a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna nerd out about some things, but we'll see what happens the rest of the week. It feels, I don't know. This week feels kind of off. Saturday's still actually up in the air. I just found out that apparently some other family members are visiting my grandma this week. So we'll see if I'll be spending some time with her this Saturday or if I'm still going to be here. We'll figure that out probably come Wednesday. But until then, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show. Good night. And don't forget to get some fucking therapy.